Customer service is reactive. Customer experience is proactive. There's a big difference between those two things. Customer service is generally kind of something's happened, so what's the service you're going to give them? Customer experience is normally planned out. What experience are we going to take the customer through? And again, I'll come back to the work that we did up in Rotherham when we were mapping out this process from start to finish, and who does what and how do we interact with the customer. It was all about generating that customer experience, the journey that you take your customers on. Okay? So, customer service, let's get it right, basics. People, process, and positive intent. Okay, so if you want to give good customer service, you've got to make sure that you understand people, hence with what we started with today. The 4 different colours, understanding profiles, and so on and so on and so on and so on. Okay? Got to understand people. Then you need to understand the customer process. So what is the customer journey from start to end? Okay? What is that journey? How do we take people on that journey? How do we make sure that journey is seamless and happy for the customer? Okay? And also you have to believe in positive intent. Now, some of you have heard me talk about this before, positive intent. Positive intent is believing that, let's use an example. Let's say you've got a customer on the phone that's not being very nice to you, for argument's sake, okay? So you've got a customer that's upset about something, and you're kind of getting it down the phone. If you believe in positive intent, what that means is you believe that customer is annoyed in their head for genuinely a good reason. Okay, genuinely a good reason. And how they're coming across may just be an emotional response, and they're not just doing it to annoy you. Okay, that's what it's all about. So that's what positive intent is in, believing that people do things for the right reason. Now, I know some of you might be screaming, well, that's not always the case, John. You're probably right, but I do find it's the exception rather than the rule. So if you generally believe in positive intent, then you're going to react in a better way to the customer, if that makes sense, okay? To the customer. So I'll give you a quick example. Last week I've been running some programs for executive assistants in America. I'm running them in the evening, 5 till 9. It's another company that's asked me to run these things, so I've said yes. But it's not my material, so I've had to work out timings and all this and study for it and so on and so on and so on. And half an hour before the session started, the person from the other company sent me an email saying, I've changed all the timings for this evening. Okay, just to let you know, they've all changed. And I prepared 2 hours earlier for the timers that got. Of course, my initial response was, are you having a laugh? I've just spent 2 hours doing this. But before I fired off that email, I just thought, okay, they must have done it for a reason. So I emailed back just saying, look, I've prepped for a couple of hours to do this. You know, what's the reason for the time changes? They came back and went, look, it's going to flow, take our advice. It's going to flow a lot quicker. It's going to be a lot easier. Just map these on, spend 10 minutes mapping them on. And it was just a better conversation. But my first initial response was, are you kidding me? And I was ready, as a high red, I was ready to jump on that keyboard and go, you're having a laugh. Yeah? But if you believe in positive intent, it just stops you from doing that. People generally do things for the right reason. So when it comes to customer service, understand people, understand the customer journey, the process, and believe in positive intent, even when your customers are a bit irate, and generally you're going to be able to give good customer service. Okay? Customer experience, is slightly different, because you're trying to. Customer service is a quick hit. Customer experience is a customer for life. That's kind of the way you want to look at it. So as I've mentioned, you want to map the customer journey out A to Z. So what is the customer journey? How do we take people through that journey? Okay? Is the process also designed for the customer, or is it designed for the company that you're in? because that's the other failing that I see in a lot of organizations. The customer wants one thing, but the system doesn't allow it. So it's classic computer says no system, okay? So I'm at the moment running a sales process program with a company, and I said, have you got a CRM system? A customer relationship management system? And they were like, no, the guys find it easier to use spreadsheets and things. And I went, well, it might be, the guys might find it easier to fill in spreadsheets, but for the customer journey, it's not connected. All those spreadsheets are separate. There is no connection. So this person's doing that without knowing what that person's doing. So actually, what we need to do is change the system. Don't get the customers to fit in with the system. Ideally, we need to make sure the system is fit around the customer and not the other way around. And it's classic computer says no. I had this the other day. I was in B&Q. I went to doing click and collect, and I went to the click and collect desk, and I'd also needed just one more item. So I'd picked the item up, went to the click and collect desk, and I said, you know, I'm here for click and collect. Yeah, Mr. Bullock, blah, blah. I said, I need this as well. Can you, could you put it through? And he went, no, you're gonna have to go and wait in the queue over there to get to the tills. So I said, but I've only got one item and you've got a till here. Yeah, but we're not allowed to do that. It's only click and collect here. You have to go over the till over there. Now, straight away, it was a computer says no moment. The fact that there was a queue of 10 people waiting over there and I was click and collecting something anyway, surely I'm thinking that system is not worked out for the customer's best interest. Now, don't get me wrong, if I turned up with a basket full of stuff at click and collect, I can understand it. But maybe there's some common sense that need to be used in there as well about the customer process in order to give the greatest customer experience, because that was a very little thing that could have been put right very, very quickly. Yeah? Communicate. So in the customer journey, you've got to have touch points of where you're giving your customer information. Remember, in the absence of information, people make it up, and it's normally hindering. So we need to communicate, letting our customers know what is going on, when it's going on during the customer process, the customer journey. We also need to measure and review what we're doing. Now, this is stuff that sometimes companies don't do a lot of because they're scared of the answer. And what that is ask their customers how they're doing. So every now and then, bring in their customers, go in, how are we doing for you? How are we doing? Is there anything we can do better? Yeah, where are we not quite hitting the mark? Where could we do better? And the only way that companies can evolve is by understanding that. So, we tend to run employee engagement surveys quite a lot. Do we run customer surveys quite a lot? And there are some companies that do it, but a lot of companies, they shy away from that a little bit because they're a little bit worried about what's going to come back from it. Well, there's no need to worry about what comes back. It's what you do with what comes back that counts on the back of it. So, as you can see, customer service is kind of reactive and you're just talking about, dealing with the situation. Customer life experience, map the journey around the customer, make sure there's regular customer touch points for communication and information, and you're asking to measure, you're asking how you can do better to your customers on a regular basis. You can do this departmentally. When's the last time that a head of department went to a head of department meeting and said, how can we do things better in our department? Can you please give us some feedback? They went to the other departments in the business and went, can you give us some feedback on what we could do to help you? Could you give us some feedback on how we could do things a bit better? Yeah? Doesn't happen a lot, does it? Imagine if it did. Imagine if that was regularly, every head of department meeting. Guys, the stuff that you told us we could do better last time? We've implemented some new processes. Can you give us a bit of feedback? Have you noticed any change? Yeah, what could we do better next time? Absolutely brilliant. Well, you can do this externally and internally as well. Very, very, very important.